Ora, boa tarde a todos. O meu nome é Isabel Lourenço, vou ser a debatedora deste trabalho, mas vou ser também a moderadora. Acabaram de me dar essa informação, que eu estava com essa dúvida. Este plenário vai ser um plenário de um trabalho que vai ser apresentado em inglês, certo? É isso, não é?
Isso.
Então, vamos mudar a língua, então, tá bom? Deixa-me só confirmar aqui uma mensagem, por favor. Ok. So, good afternoon to everyone. Today we are starting a plenary section about the impact of the adoption of IFRS 15 on the financial analyst forecasts. Patricia will present the paper. After that, I will discuss the paper, and finally, we will have some time for discussion with the audience, okay? So, Patricia, you can start. The floor is all yours.
Okay. Let me share with you. Are you seeing?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everybody. I am Patricia Paim, and this article, Impact of the Adoption of IFRS 15 on the Financial Analyst Forecast, is a joint work with Professors Fernanda Gomes Victor and Marci Bianchi. So, let's understand about the context first. The International Accounting Standard Boards is responsible for issuing IFRS, and IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standards, which in turn regulates corporate disclosure. When adopted for internationalization, IFRS 15, which addresses the standardization for the recognition of revenue from contracts with customers, reduces the asymmetry between different markets around the world. And coming to the Brazilian market, when it's now called CPC 47, also aims to reduce the asymmetry between sectors. There was a change in the form of revenue recognition, and this change was also different between the sectors to make it comparable. And it was then the companies had to adapt to the new regulation, and each one within its own particularities. And in the same way, analysts also had to improve the quality of their earnings forecast. In the Brazilian scenario, the previous presence of standards that also dealt with recognition and revenue, however, with their own particularities, did not allow for the simply updating of the standard. The CPC 47 did not replace just one standard, but six. Six standards that were replaced, and among them were specific standards for revenue recognition in the civil construction and advertising sectors. So IFRS 15 was adopted in Brazil in 2016, and in 2017, companies should disclose in an explanatory note the effects that the adoption of the standard would have on their statements and results, and from 2018 apply it effectively. By replacing specific rules for different sectors, the rules were unified and brought different adaptation needs for companies. Market analysis were also affected, as they specialize in companies and sectors, and in the same way that companies had to adapt to meet the standard in preparing statements, analysts had to adapt to the proper understanding of the information disclosed. To verify this relationship, if it exists and is significant, this relation, the aim of this paper was to analyze the impact of adoption of IFRS 15 on financial analyst projections for companies participating in the Brazil 100 index in the period from 2016 to 2019. Based on the theoretical part, the hypotheses of this study were the disclosure of the effects of adopting the standard in an explanatory note is positively related to the quality of the financial analyst forecast. The mandatory adoption of the mandatory adoption of this board, this IFRS 15 is positively related to the accuracy of the forecasts of financial analysts. And the third hypothesis is that the use of a learning curve by companies and financial analysts is positively related to the quality of financial analysis forecasts. So the sample consisted of 71 companies in the Brazil 100 index, which the main limiting factor being the fact that companies in the financial sector were not required to apply this standard until December 31st to 2019, the end of the period analyzed by the regulatory agency. And regarding to the quantitative methods used, descriptive statistics of the data, correlation analysis, and regression analysis were used. And before proceeding to the results, it's necessary to understand a little bit about the variables. So the dependent variable measures the quality of the profit projections made by the market analysts. And the closer to zero, the more accurate the projection is, therefore closer to what was effectively realized by the company. And about the independent variables, let's start with the control variable. As adopted for the analyst, the size of the company, the sector in which it operates according to B3 definitions. B3 is the Brasil Bolsa Balcão, and the number of analysts who issued forecasts for profits and the company's net result for the period that was analyzed. And about the variables of interest, 3 were adopted, a progressive one, which follows the methodology of Martinez and Damer that addresses the existence of a learning curve, both for managers and for analysts, in the construction of accounting reporting and for analysts to understand this report. And 2 other dummy variables were also adopted, one for mandatory adoption of the standard, and the other for the disclosure in an explanatory note of the effects that its adoption would have on results if it were applied in 2017. Now the analysis is about the correlation analysis. This analysis between the independent variables of interest was already expected, this correlation, given their temporal metric. And regarding the variable that measures the quality of analysts' forecasts, we can take from this analysis that larger companies and companies with positive results tend to present more accurate forecasts. And regarding to the variables of interest, IFRS 15, only we have three variables, and only the progressive variable IFRS 15 showed a positive correlation, and these results were confirmed in the regression analysis, the next one we will talk about. So the regression analysis proceeded with three tests because it was an excessive amount of variables that could compromise the results. So at the first moment, variables with negative t-statistics were excluded from the test, and later those with t-statistics lower than 1. And regarding the sectors, the cyclical and non-cyclical consumer goods sectors were negatively significant at 5%, showing that in this, the understanding of the content of contracts with customers disclosed did not fulfill its objective of facilitating the understanding of what was disclosed by the company. And the other sectors, on the other hand, showed no relationship on the tests. Among the independent variables of interest, only IFRS 15, like in the correlation analysis, was significant for accuracy and confirmed the finds in the correlation analysis. Thus, that expected learning curve was found, but with a different sign, leading to the understanding that the more time elapses since the adoption of the standard, the less accurate the predictions are. And according to this experiment, in which there would be a sector not significant for PPA, the variable for accuracy, it's clear that the accuracy approached zero when companies, in addition to disclosing their results based on the previous standard, also disclosing in an explanatory note when would happen if IFRS 15 were adopted in that exercise. And talking a little bit about the finds for our hypothesis. Hypothesis 1 and 2 in this study could not be confirmed. These hypotheses were about the variables add CPC 47 and effects of CPC 47. However, the hypothesis 3 can be contradicted. Contrary to what was proposed, the learning curve did not show the understanding of the norm over time, but rather that is necessary to pay attention on how the parts involved in the process understood the content of these standards. And talking a little bit about the period analyzed, we can conclude that it's necessary to do researches for a more long time period, because to know more about this learning curve. And these were the points that we believe to be the most relevant for this presentation. Of course, the time and our familiarity with the content and the results are potential limiting factors, then that's why I'm open to questions and contributions.
Thank you so much. Now I will open my presentation. So first of all, I would like to congratulate the authors for this interesting paper, which is about the impact of the adoption of IFRS 15 on the financial analyst forecasts. Now I will present some comments and some suggestions regarding your paper. The objective of your study is to analyze the impact of the adoption of IFRS 15 on the forecasts of financial analysts for the companies participating in the Brazil 100 index in this period of 4 years. In my opinion, you have a very interesting research question, but I suggest that you include in the introduction of your paper at least a small justification about why did you perform this analysis in Brazil. But more important than that, I would suggest that you explain in the introduction of your paper, why is this so important? Why is this research question important? Why should we analyze this? What should we do with your results? Okay. And another thing that I think is important to clarify in the introduction of your paper is, why should IFRS 15 have an impact on the analysts' forecasts? And for me, this is the most important thing regarding your research question and regarding the introduction of your paper. I think that you should, in the introduction, you should discuss this. Why should this new standard have an impact on the analyst forecasts? Okay. Then you present the prior research, and you have a section called something like theoretical framework, the adoption of IFRS 15 in Brazil. In my opinion, this section is a little bit undeveloped. So my suggestion is that you discuss the main characteristics of the IFRS 15, which has also in Brazil, you don't apply specifically the IFRS 15, but a specific Brazilian standard, which is similar to the IFRS 15. So I suggest that in this section, you discuss the main characteristics of this new standard and what are the expected changes when we are applying this new standard, which means what are the main changes expected regarding the revenue recognition. What do you expect that, or what, in your opinion, what are the main differences between the IFRS 15 and the previous standards on revenue recognition? Okay. Again, regarding the prior research regarding the theoretical framework, you have another section about the analysts' forecasts, the theoretical framework regarding the analysts' forecasts. And in my opinion, this section is also a little bit undeveloped. And I suggest that you improve this section. One thing that, in my opinion, is important is to bring to this section a discussion about the literature on the IFRS, on the effect of the IFRS adoption on the analysts' forecasts accuracy. And there are some papers, there are some studies published in top journals about this issue. And I would like to see them discussed in this section. Okay. Apart from this, I would suggest that you also perform in this section a discussion about the challenges of this new standard to the analysts. Okay. Then, regarding the hypothesis, you present 3 hypotheses, but an appropriate justification of these three hypotheses is missing. So I would like to see, and I suggest that you include in this hypothesis section, that you discuss this and that you argue, that you present a justification for each one of these hypotheses. Okay, why would we expect these associations, these relationships? Another thing is related to the order of the hypothesis. I suggest that you think about the possibility of changing the order of hypothesis 1 and 2, but talk with your co-authors and think about this. Regarding the sampling data, you say in the paper that the sample consists of 71 publicly traded companies. These companies are Brazilian companies included in this 100 index. You only analyzed non-financial firms and firms with available information, which is okay. The data was collected from several sources and for 4 years. We know that you are analyzing a small sample, but that's what is available for you, okay? This is not a very important problem. This is a small problem. But what is more important for me regarding this is the problem of the materiality of the effect of these new standards, new standard in these kind of firms, which means, is the effect of IFRS 15 adoption material in all of these firms that you are analyzing? So I would like to see some descriptive data about the effect of the IFRS 15 adoption in each one of these firms. And maybe you can also split the sample in two groups, those firms where the effect is material or more significant, and firms, the group of firms in which the effect of this new standard is less significant, and try to see if the results are the same, okay? Then regarding the variables, you have a variable that is a little bit confusing for me, which is the variable disclosure of the effect of CPC 47. You say that this variable is a dummy variable that has a value 1 when the company must assess the effect of the new pronouncement. This is not clear for me what the meaning of this, because I assume that all the firms must provide this type of information. So it is not clear for me the meaning of this variable and the way as you compute this variable. So I suggest that you improve the description of this variable in the paper, and you may also think about use a continuous variable apart from this dummy variable regarding the magnitude of the effect, not just they disclose or they not disclose, but what about identify the magnitude of the effect and use this as a variable in your study. Then you have two control variables. And when we look to the control variables, I think that this is, for one hand, incomplete, and for the other hand, not justified. So my suggestion is that you analyze the previous literature on the determinants of the analyst's forecast accuracy and select and justify a more comprehensive set of control variables, okay? Regarding the model, I think that the model could be revised. The model needs to be revised because almost all the independent variables are binary variables, which may be a problem when we are running the models. The main independent variables are temporal variables, and I don't know if you can isolate the effect of the IFRS 15 adoption, because I don't know how the things work in Brazil, but I believe that in the same year where firms needed to apply IFRS 15, maybe they were also required to apply IFRS 16. So I don't know if you can isolate the effect of the IFRS 15 adoption, because the firms, your main variables are temporal variables, and you may not attribute the differences in the analysts' forecast accuracy to the adoption of just one standard, because the firms are applying several new standards in several new IFRS in the same year. Okay. Then, regarding the correlation analysis, you have some limitations here because there are very high correlations. For example, the correlation between these two variables is very, very high, almost 0.9. This may justify some problems in your regressions. Another thing is that the Spearman correlations could not be appropriate for binary variables. And another thing is, how do you explain the negative correlations between these last variables? There is a negative correlation between these two variables, and I don't know how should we explain this. Regarding the regression results, so regarding the results, there are some limitations when we look to the regression results, because I don't know if you used the appropriate independent variables, and I don't know if you used the appropriate model. Okay. Regarding the conclusion, at the end you say that the hypotheses were not confirmed, and I suggest that you have some cautions about this, because I suggest that possibly your findings are influenced by a limited research design. So, summarizing, I think your paper has a very interesting research question. Your paper is very well structured and very well written. But I suggest that you improve your theoretical framework and justify properly the hypothesis, and that you try to improve your research design. But congratulations again. I think this is a very interesting research question. You have the data. My suggestion is try to improve the paper in order to get a very good publication in a very good journal. And good luck for that.
Thank you for the suggestions. I need to agree with the most of all. When I was preparing the presentation, I was looking and I was thinking why I didn't did it different, because I know it was in February. It has some time, and in this period for 5-6 months, I changed my thinking about that, because I was asking for more aspects in this line, and it's clear the suggestions, and it's clear that I need to improve my writing and to publish. And Thanks. And about the hypothesis, to change the order of the hypothesis, it becomes difficult to present now today because the order of the hypothesis. When I was trying to organize the uh, the presentation, I feel this difficult just because of this.
Okay. If you want, I can send you my presentation.
Please, I will ask you if it's possible.
Of course. I will send you the presentation, and I wish you luck because you have a very good idea. And I would like to see a new version of your paper. I would like that you improve the paper and that you publish your paper because the subject is really important. Okay.
And it's important. I base it on some articles that were did in some years ago with small data, but I with 4 years analyzing 4 years, I feel difficult. So I think it's necessary more time to analyze this perception in the market.
Okay, maybe you can get more information and more data in the future.
Yeah.
So I don't know if someone wants to give us some comments, present some comments, or ask some questions. So we have some people here, but I don't know if they are sleeping. No? Então, e em português, alguém quer fazer algum comentário? Ok, Patrícia.
More people than usual. And no question. I don't know if it's good or bad, but
yes, I don't know. But at least you have my comments. You have a good paper, a good research question, and I wish you luck in the future. And I will send you my presentation, and I expect that you have lots of success with this research. Okay.
Thanks.
So I think that we may. Yes.
Just this. I am just. I'm sorry. Here it's too cold, and I don't know in other places around in Brazil or around the world, but here is too much cold, and I need to agree with the suggestions, and I need to say thank you for all of them, for everybody who is here watching this presentation. This is my first presentation in English, so this is important for me.
It was a very good presentation. Congratulations again.
Thanks. I was practicing more than usual for that presentation just for this, and it's good that everybody, I hope that everybody understood my what word that I was presenting, and thanks for everything.
Of course, they all of them understood very well your presentation and your message. And can I ask you, where are you at the moment?
Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil.
Rio Grande do Sul. Okay. So we may finish our plenary section, and I would like to thank all the participants that cannot talk with us. And again, I would like to thank you for your presentation and for your paper and congratulate you. Okay, so bye-bye to everyone.
Okay, bye.